Each student is going to get a mask form to start. We're going to share these, so we'll pop them out after you put your plaster on them, but we're going to want to make sure whose is whose, so you're going to need to put your name on a piece of masking tape and your period, and then tape it to the inside of the mask. Oops. Okay, that time it worked. Don't put it on this side of the mask. You got to put it on the inside of the mask like that. Next, you're going to want to start cutting up the plaster tape. This is like woven fabric, and this white stuff is plaster. So when it gets wet, it turns into glue. This is the same stuff you use when you get a cast if you break your arm or your leg, because it hardens right away. You want to cut it into strips about 2 inches wide, each one, and you should take turns doing this and then setting the strips on your table where they're not going to get wet. You don't want them to get wet until you want to put them on your mask. Okay, so I have my plaster cast strips ready, a bucket of water, my scissors are over here, and my mask is here. I'm going to dip these strips in the water and then put them on my mask. And if I do it like this, then they're not going to drip on each other as I move them to my mask and get these hard before I use them. When you dip the strips in the water, you want to get it down in there, and then you take 2 fingers and just get the extra drips off. Then you transfer it over to your mask, and you lay it down on your mask, and you use your fingers to smooth out the sides. You should decide if you want to cover up the eyes or if you want to leave the mouth open, because if you put the plaster on top of the eyes, you can't get rid of it later. So if you want to keep the eyes open, you want to push the plaster over so that this area stays clear of any plaster tape. Okay, now I'm going to do a bunch more, and I'm going to cover my mask with 2 layers of this stuff everywhere. I think it's best to not go onto this area, which is kind of like the rim, but if you want to use it, then you want to just be consistent with it and use it all around. If you just put a thin layer of plaster tape right there, then it'll be really fragile when you pop the mask form out. So instead, I'm just going to keep my mask on the part that goes up, and I'm going to cover 2 layers all over. I think I'll leave my eyes open, but I think I'll cover the mouth. When you smooth it out like this, you get rid of the little holes that are in between the weave, and it becomes smoother for you later. Once you've covered your mold with 2 layers of cast everywhere, including right here on the nose and all the way down to the sides, you can add some extra elements to make your mask more unique. I'm going to take a plaster strip, dip it in water, and now I'm going to make a bigger brow line by taking this plaster strip and kind of bunching it up where eyebrows would be. This kind of creates more of an elevation. You could think about your own face. You could think about certain characteristics of yours that are more accentuated. Or else you could just think about it in terms of making it a little bit more unique. I'm going to make my lips a little bit bigger too. So take another piece of plaster, and this time I'm going to kind of fold it over and create some lips like this. Okay, that looks kind of cheesy right there. I'm actually just going to kind of straighten it out so it doesn't look like I have this humongous smile. And then so this could be a bottom lip, and I could do the same thing for the top lip. And so this will just give it a little bit more of a 3D look from other angles and make your mask more unique. Okay, so now I added some extra elements to my mask, and I can pop it off the mask form so that someone else can use the mask form. It's been worked on for maybe 10 minutes or so, 10-15 minutes, so it's already starting to harden. Either you can do this or the teacher can if she or he has time. But basically what you want to do is just start to bend the plastic out, and the whole thing should come out like this. Okay, now you can kind of see what your mask is going to look like. I'm just going to smooth out the inside of the eyes so they're not as sharp before they dry completely. And then you're going to paint a base coat on here so that next class you can add the words and decorate it. I'm going to do one color for the outside, the external part of my mask, and then another color for the inside. So I'm just going to do this blue, and basically I'm just trying to get it in everywhere I chose a really watery paint so that it would fill in all the gaps and it could be painted very quickly. So paint one side and then you can paint the inside of your mask and then you're done for day one. On the inside of my mask, I'm going to go with yellow. I choose blue and yellow for a couple reasons. First, my ancestors are all from Sweden and these are Sweden's colors. Also, I named my oldest daughter Luna, which means moon. So it's kind of a nighttime, like a blue color when I think of her name. And then my youngest daughter is Soli, and Sol is sun. So I'm going to do yellow in the inside, kind of like a sun. When you set your mask down to dry, set it like this instead of on the face. If you end up smearing some of the paint while you set it down, that's okay. You're going to be covering your mask with a lot of words. So you can put the words on top of wherever you've messed up the paint a little bit. You really want to make sure that you get this tape back though, otherwise we're not going to know whose mask this is. And I would just kind of stick the tape onto your mask somewhere so that as it dries, we will know whose it is and we can put the tape back on the inside later so that we can return it to you for day 2.